Hello everyone, it's David here, live in Granada, presenting you week 12, take 2. Sorry about the first mistake. What happened was for reasons I'll explain shortly, I tried to make the video in a new program, and for whatever reason, while it filmed my look perfectly, it didn't get the sound, which was rather frustrating since I wasted the like 10 to 15 minutes that it spent for me doing all the narrations and other things and etc, etc, etc. All that. So here's take 2. The reason that I was using a different program is I wanted to share with you all a bit of the things that I saw during the Holy Week celebration here. And mainly there were processions, procesiones, which were really good, really elaborate. I think I kind of overdid it a little bit. Like I saw processions every day from Sunday all the way to Thursday. Yesterday and today I decided, actually, I technically did see them on Friday, come to think of it, since it was one of those weird midnight to 5 in the morning type things, which I'll explain again at some point. So anyway, I'm also going to talk about how I did on the test, as well as some other things that seem important to me, but really aren't, but are things I want to share with you all nonetheless. So, getting right to the quick of it, I want to talk first about these processions. The procesiones are organized by these cofradías, which are, I guess, confraternities, meaning that they're religious, Catholic, often or always Catholic organizations, typically affiliated with the church, that meet together for social or charitable type purposes. And Semana Santa is kind of like the big time where they're in the spotlight, because they bring out these kind of parade float type things, is the best way I can explain it. Called pasos, which show various scenes of the Passion of Christ. Him being whipped or flagellated, I guess, which is the more universal Catholic term. Him being put on the cross, him before a Pilate, him being taken off the cross, him carrying the cross, him stumbling with the cross. So that's the first one. Oftentimes, unless it's a small procession, which I only saw once, they'll also have a second paso of the Virgin Mary in a sad sort of stature. I don't know. There's a really easy way to say that, like como en plan triste, which would be a far easier way to say that in Spanish. So looking sad, that's a better way to say it. And she has a whole bunch of candles in front. Often she's on this huge, not cart, box, or I feel like there's a better term for this, but I just don't know what it is. But the thing that she's on is like made out of silver or copper, so really elaborate. There's tons of candles in front. She has this lush, gorgeous cape flowing out from behind her, and this really ornate canopy that goes over her head. So the cofradías basically escort them and bring them through town. So the first thing that comes in these processions is the people bearing the colors that are associated with it, maybe a flag or coat of arms or something like that. Then come these two groups, which are often mixed, the Nazarenos and Penitentes. So they're both generally dressed the same way, which is to say, it's a really bad comparison and I regret it, but they look like Klansmen, only of course they never wear white and they don't have the little seal about white racial purity or anything like that. And obviously the KKK, which has been around for like, I don't know, 100 or 200 years, has, no influence whatsoever on these Catholic rites, which in some cases go back to 1980, but in other cases go all the way back to the 16 or 1500s. So obviously the KKK stole it, probably trying to look all, I don't know, look like they had some sort of long history or I don't know, something like that. Anyway, so they are not at all Klansmen. There's no racial component to this whatsoever. And as I said, they don't wear white. They oftentimes wear purple, although the colors can also be black or even a mix of colors. Like I saw one that was really fun, which was a purple hat, a red tunic or overcoat, and then a yellow robe, which was pretty fancy. So there's the Nazarenes, I guess, which are, I think, there for more jubilant, rejoicing type purposes. They carry candles. And then there's the Penitentes, the penitents, which carry crosses. And they all go in front of the pasos, the floats. So then after that, you have these really awesome bands, marching bands, except they're playing all this wonderful Spanish music, although some other more recent things too. Like I heard "Nearer My God to Thee" too, which was just a lot of fun to hear, in the middle of Granada, when I always thought it was like more of a English or German type hymn, or at least a Protestant one. Sorry to the Catholics in the audience. So they're great. They play a lot of really awesome traditional Spanish music, which I really want to have and play for myself. So I'll find some way to either pirate it or be a good, responsible consumer and buy a CD somewhere. I'll have to ask around and see where you can do that. Then they're followed by these camareras, which I don't know if they're unique to Granada. When I saw some in Sevilla, I didn't see them at all, which is really strange. But they're these women who oftentimes march with rosaries, and some of them actually are saying the rosary. Most of them are there just to look pretty, which they do look pretty. So either a rosary or a candle. And they're dressed up to the nines in kind of grieving attire, with all in black, with these black lace veils, which they never wear overhead. So the most interesting thing, or at least the most mind-boggling thing to this, is the pasos, which are probably about the size of like any given bathroom in a middle-class dwelling in the US. No, bigger. I mean, probably like 10 foot 20, something like that. Big enough where 30 to 40 men can stand underneath, as they do, and pick it up and carry it through town. What's really, really impressive, there's a lot of things really impressive. In some cases, these are like 2, 3, even 5-hour processions. So, carrying these things for like hours on end. The other thing is they can't see where they're going. So they have this guy in front who's constantly, shouting direction to them one way or the other, and they put the paso down, they pick the paso up, they carry the paso uphill, they carry it downhill, they navigate tight corners, and apparently, I never saw this, but apparently in some cases they try to get around low-hanging electrical wires, which to me is just utterly mind-boggling that they're able to do this. And they do it well. I never saw a paso tip over or run into anyone or kill anyone. So, it's just extremely, extremely impressive. So, one other thing that I want to do before I introduce my first video clip is talk about something called Thaida, which I think I'm pronouncing wrong, since I keep on aligning it to like Saida, which I think is some word with happiness in some language. Saidan, maybe. Maybe that's Turkish. I have no idea. And I was a bit disappointed to find out that this actually is all premeditated and planned. But occasionally, in some spots, the paso will stop, and a guy or a woman will come out and just sing, just sing, either reflecting the sorrows of Christ during the Passion, or sing also to the Virgin Mother, kind of a song of praise and joy and that sort of thing. So, without any further ado, since I've been a lot, apparently 8.5 minutes in explaining all this and whatever else I explained, I'll stop there and introduce my first clip, which is the salida, the exiting type ceremony where they're taking the pasos from the church and bringing it out. So, here we go. And we're back. So I hope you really like that. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is I finally got, actually a week and a half ago, sorry it's taken so long, I got back the results from the test, and they were not horrible, but definitely not what I wanted to do. I was hoping at very least that I'd be able to teach the first year, which consists of 3 courses, and they paid me to teach the first 2 courses, so 2 out of 3, which I guess isn't too bad. On the upside, the majority of the mistakes that I finally have gone over it extensively, and there were mistakes where it's like, oh man, I just wasn't really paying attention to that, or things like that. It seems like the oral part of my Spanish is what I have to really, really improve now. So, that said, I'm optimistic about at least being able to teach the first year, which I think will, for better or worse, buy me another year of being able to keep improving my Spanish. Although I'm not sure if I can teach the first year, if that means I'll be able to teach everything else, or exactly how that all works. They haven't really explained it to me. But I'm optimistic. If I've been able to knock out 2 courses so far, it seems realistic that in the same amount of time, more or less, I should be able to knock out the 1 remaining course. I'm going to change my plan of approach, though. I think that there's just nothing I can do to improve the pronunciation in the way that they want, that I've been doing, and that's been working currently. So I think I'm going to try to find a tutor. I actually have gotten back some emails from a couple that look good, and one sounded good. At least she had a couple of ideas for things to do. So I'll take that. So meet with them a couple of weeks, see if they can't correct something I write on a daily basis and help me out with the grammar, and also help me as well with my pronunciation. And it seems too that I just insist on being able to express myself in the same way that I express myself in English, which is with really long, complicated sentences. And it might just be that that's just not how Spanish is stylistically, or that I'm just not up to it as a Spanish speaker, as it were. I thought there was something else I wanted to say about that, so I'm glancing over my notes. The other thing too is I went out and bought a few books that were actually written in Spanish, since I've been reading stuff in translation and watching stuff in translation, and I think it's good, but it tends to be simpler stuff, and I think less native-like. So, I think just because even if you translate it as a native speaker, you still find yourself preserving some of the native aspects of it. So I'm going to change my approach a bit with that. My dad's going to shake my head at this, but I'm going to try and write a lot more and get people to give me feedback, since that seems to work. And it seemed in the beginning, a lot of it was just relearning systematic knowledge that I just needed to do. But now I think it's kind of at the point where I just have to go back and clean up isolated mistakes that I've been making this whole time, and only making in specific circumstances, just to have a big list and read through it again and again and again until I get it all done. So that's that. I'm now going to leave you all with yet another exciting procession. So enjoy. So that's that. Next, what I'm going to talk about is a bit of the plans for this past weekend. So what I did was I was told again and again and again that, hey, these procesiones, these processions are great in Granada, but what you really have to do is see them in Sevilla. Because in Seville, that's where they started, that's where the oldest ones are, and they just go over the top. So, I mean, they were good. Admittedly, I didn't quite enjoy it as much as I probably should. Part of it because they started at midnight and went until 5, and it was just a very, very long night. A very, very enjoyable night. I watched it with a friend of Maria, and now a friend of my own, named Maldo, who's a wonderful chap, very, very enjoyable. So shout out to him if he happens to be watching this as part of my Facebook-based audience. They were a lot longer, which kind of they were a lot longer. There's a lot more people. It was a lot more emotional, I guess. So just kind of some things that just kind of made it a long night. Although admittedly it was really really impressive. The scale of it all was very impressive. So I saw the Salida, the exit ceremony procession of the Virgin of the Macarena, which I think is the most important Virgin in Sevilla. Although if I'm wrong, someone please correct me below. And just to give you a feel for the scale of this thing, like the procesiones I saw in Granada had tops 50 of these Nazarenos penitentes. The ones in Sevilla had like 1,000, like 1,300 even. So we got there. It took 2 hours for the paso, the float part of it, to actually leave. And the penitentes and the Nazarenos just kept on coming and coming and coming, and there was just a lot of people around us, such that like a couple of like altercations broke out, like shouting matches. A couple of people fainted not too far from where I was. So, it was just kind of an intense experience on the whole. It took 2 hours too. It took 2 hours from the start to the end, which the procesiones I saw in Granada were like 20, 30 minutes tops. But anyway, I went down to see a couple of others, another procession by a bridge, and it was really, really cool. I saw a lot more of the Thaidas, which I hope I mentioned in the previous thing. That's when the guys come out and they sing this song of devotion, sort of in like a flamenco type style to either Christ empathizing with his sorrows or to the Virgin Mother, praising her. They also had a little chant where every time the paso with the Virgin would come out, they'd say her name, like Macarena, and everyone would say guapa, which is like beautiful, and then they'd say it in Macarena, and everyone would say guapa, and then they'd say Macarena, and everyone would say guapa, guapa, guapa. So that was unique. Apparently they only do that in Sevilla. There was also a part where the paso stopped and people just threw out a whole ton of flower petals, like red and white, and it was just really, really pretty. And again, the pasos were just much bigger than the ones that I saw in Granada, so that was really, really cool. So, slept an hour and a half, and then I went to go visit Maria in Cadiz, and she showed me around. Really, really great city. I kind of regret not going there to study, although it was probably academically a better decision to have gone to that better decision that I ended up going to Madrid. But Cadiz was just charming. At some point I'll upload pictures, but it was by the sea, which was really, really cool. Tried some good food, tried like heck to stay awake and cognizant and aware of everything, but just really, really charming. I liked it, I guess, a bit because it has sort of this microcosmic type telling of the story of Spain, I guess, on the whole, where during a period is a town that no one ever really cared about, although with a really, really long history, like, gosh, going back thousands of years, like settled by the Phoenicians, then by the Romans, then by the Arabs, the Moors, then by the Spanish. So we saw a couple of archaeological displays which were just really, really incredible, thinking about the insane amount of history that they had there. They have a Roman theater that's still standing, a couple of really, really nice castles and fortifications and a jail, and really, really great churches and cathedrals. So I'll post pictures at some point. I really, really enjoyed it there. It was just really, really a charming town. And I put the other thing I put in the notes was that all the processions were blurring together. I really did see a lot. The record was five in one night, and I went to see it with Jose, who I'll talk a bit more about in the next section rather. And we both agreed that we were pretty sure that we had seen all of these colors, the colors of the garbage before, and everything looked so familiar. But it turned out that we actually did see five different processions. It's just that they were starting to blur together for like both of us. So anyway, this is not a procession, but it was like 10 seconds of live flamenco street performance, which I think because I was afraid to get too close because they would have asked me for money, probably doesn't turn out that good, but you know, here, a little bit of taste of Spain in the most touristy, stereotypical sense that anyone can imagine. So then, here's the last bit of it all, where I just kind of talk about some loose ends. Last week was my first week, hardcore 100% back at the gym. Went great. I just feel this huge weight off of my conscience, which probably speaks to a bit about how I'm starting to perhaps, you know, have a fairly strong relationship, I guess, with the gym. I didn't say unhealthy, I just said strong. But it's been great. It's elevated my mood a lot. I feel a lot healthier, happier, more balanced. So that's been really, really wonderful. I think one thing that just kind of made me point to too, that I haven't been really nourishing myself as much as I should spiritually. So it's something that I would appreciate your prayers about, and you know, something that I'll get back to. I also made a new friend named Jose, who's awesome. I met with him twice. I should meet with him again. He's really cool because he's getting a doctorate in Spanish linguistics, which is pretty close to literature. I guess they're both forms of philology or philologia. And he's really, really awesome. Love his doctoral project. We have great talks about literature and about language and about the power therein, and like having a prescriptive versus descriptive approach to grammar and all these other things. It's been great. He also loves languages and has a far better capacity for them than I do, but it's cool. Like, he's studied a number, and just hearing him talk about the grammatical differences and things like that is just wonderfully, I don't know, it's just endlessly fascinating. I enjoy spending time with him. He'll be going back to Thailand, where he teaches Spanish, I guess, at a sort of, I think, college or prep school. Sorry, in Thailand. I don't know if I said it's in Thailand. That's what he does for a living. So it's cool. I'll miss him. I'm hoping to hang out with him a lot more before I go. I also got a haircut. Look. So it isn't quite how I wanted. I think that's partly because I walked into the barber and said, "Give it to me short," and I should probably think more about hairstyles or something like that, or at least come up with better adjectives besides short. So he took like the trimmers to this side, and I actually thought it was a bit short. I like it now, you know, admittedly I like it. And he was going to leave the part on top a lot longer, and then he finished and looked in the mirror and said, "Is this good?" And I said, "No, cut it shorter," because I think it would have had it like another half-inch long or something like that, and I didn't really like it. I thought it was too short, but I guess after having a few days, I think I'm pretty happy with it as it is. He did cut the beard, which I appreciate. I actually am like in due for the tune-up shave, since it's been a little while. That's something I should do before I head out tonight. And he cut the beard pretty short, and looking at it, I think especially because I'm just never going to have a lot of hair in my face, I'm going to go back to keeping it somewhat longer. Although I might play with the length, because why not, right? Why not? That said, before closing, I would just appreciate prayer for a couple of things. I'm about to... I'm still waiting for my passport to get back to me. It seems to be doing well. They said like 3 to 4 weeks, and I think it's only been like week 2. So, you know, there's no reason to worry, but I just feel a lot better about getting it back. Also, I haven't heard back from the conference in Italy, which isn't until July, and it's perfectly natural that I haven't heard back from them, but I would definitely push your purse for that, just because, as I said, it would be a great career move as well as a great chance to go to Italy and see what that's about. And as always, just continued prayers that I can learn the language here, get back home too. I have been kind of like nostalgic a bit, as I know that spring's coming back there. Spring's, sort of rearing its head finally back at home. So that said, and just prayers in general, just that I would be able to discern God's will with whatever, well, with some important decisions that I'll have to be making coming up here soon. And prayer as always that God's grace would continue to abide with me and support me, and that I would be a better representative of that grace here, of course. So, I miss and love all of you. I can't wait to see you all again soon. I love getting the emails, so please continue to stay in touch. And I'm going to close now and leave you with yet another exciting procession video, because I'm sure that somehow at this point you just haven't had enough. So, love you all, and I'll pray for you. Bye.